What is up, everyone, and welcome into the Week 8 preview of the Chargers versus the Patriots. And I talk like this because I remember what happened last year. Everyone remembers what happened last year. You remember what happened last year, Tony?
Yeah, I do. We got hoodied.
We got our asses kicked. But you know who we didn't have last year? Dustin
Me?
Hopkins.
Oh.
San Diego Chargers are fortunate to have Lance Allworth.
On blue, ready?
Don Coryell.
Hello, history books. Touchdown, San Diego! Woo!
D-Hop the Charger.
That actually worked out quite nicely because I really thought you were throwing me an alley-oop as a fan, that I was going to be the difference, that I was going to make up a 45-point gap. And then, of course, the kicker. But okay, in a serious note, pretty excited for Hopkins. And how crazy would it be for him to go on a nice borderline Hall of Fame career run? Right? Just landed, picked up off the streets on a good team in a situation where all he has to do is make 44-yard field goals consistently for a decade on a team with a quarterback who's going to constantly put you in positions to win big games. Dustin Hopkins, what I'm saying to you right now is you have a chance to become a Hall of Fame kicker. That is a real thing. Quarterbacks put their kickers in position. Adam Vinatieri's not going to the Hall of Fame if he plays with Carson Palmer because he's not making those kicks. But now he's in the Hall of Fame. Steven Gostkowski not going to the Hall of Fame without Thomas Brady. That's all I'm saying.
I'm with it, but I'll give D-Hop a little. I'm gonna start calling him D-Hop because I think that's pretty funny. But I'll give D-Hop even a little less of a bar to strive for. We don't even need Hall of Fame, bud. We just need NFL average. We'll take that. We'll start off with NFL average. Get us to the NFL average of making more than 5 out of 10 of your extra points, and I'm in on it.
I want the bar to be high because if it's just okay, then he's cut and he's dead to me, just like the last guy. And when we move on, at which point I'm saying more than signing Mike Williams, we need to wrestle away somebody's good kicker. I don't care who it is.
That's going to be something that's going to be concerning with the whole Mike Williams contract up in the air, but I'm sure that's a conversation that we're going to have down the road. We're going to get into our injured players. We're going to get into our X factors, but I do think it is important to talk about the special teams because not only did we add a new kicker and an experienced kicker who's been in the league for a couple of years now, has found some success in the league and has even been in situations where he's performed as a top 10 kicker for a longer stretch of time than just a few games. But we also picked up Andre Roberts, who's been one of the better return specialists over the last couple of years, and he's a Charger now. So I'm pretty pumped about that. What do you think about the Andre Roberts signing? What's your thoughts off the top of the head?
This one I'm even more excited for because you need a guy like this. He's a little crazy. I don't know how familiar people are, how much other football you watch, but this guy will take the ball, put his head down, and just barrel for it. He loves to catch the ball, and he runs hard. He takes some big hits, but he also makes some big plays. And they're not they've never been big, splashy, sexy plays because he's played for bad Bills teams or bad Raiders teams or any, whatever it is. But if you watch the games, you've seen Andre Roberts make some flash plays in the kicking game. And that's something that the Chargers have lacked for a long time. Who was maybe the last person back there making plays? Woodhead?
Darren Sproles. Woodhead has returned too much.
I don't it's been a long time since they had somebody where it's oh shit, we just got the ball. Now we're almost in field goal range. Mm-hmm. It'll be nice to have a couple of punts, and I think he has that capability. And also maybe a couple of kick returns, putting him on the 35 or 40 or something like that, where one big play, now all of a sudden you're on the other side of the field, just that quickly. And I don't even mean big play. I mean 18 yards to Jared Cook over the middle or something like that.
Yeah, it's a
So,
big deal, especially the kickoffs. And you love the punt returns. You really just want someone that can definitely 100% of the time catch the ball. That's why the Desmond King thing confused me so much, because anytime Desmond King was out, it seems like we muffed a punt or just had like a backwards return or just an awful play from whoever filled in for him. And then they traded Desmond King, and we haven't been able to find a returner ever since he left. And he wasn't amazing. He just didn't make any dumb mistakes, caught the ball on kick return, got us past the 25 whenever he did take it out, or just was smart enough to take the touchback. I think having Roberts and having a guy that following an opponent's field goal or an opponent's touchdown where we need to respond on the ensuing drive, we can't be starting that drive on the 12 to 15-yard line every time. And then, of course, someone holds, and now it's backed up to the 7-yard line every time. And that's what – and I love Roundtree. He's not a kick returner. And I love KJ Hill, and he got cut, but he wasn't a kick returner. This guy was a guy that wanted to be a wide receiver in the league that they tried to use at kick return last year. So this full circle, the whole Desmond King issue I had with them trading him away was that we were going to lose that big help on special teams, and now we finally got a guy that's dedicated just to special teams. Not expecting Roberts to play too much receiver. I guess, knock on wood, if we need depth, he's there and has played receiver before, but definitely a huge help to our special teams and the field position battle in general, because it's killing us to start these drives on the 15-yard line.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. Last thing on Andre Roberts. In his press conference, he goes, I don't like to fair catch the ball. And I was like, okay, I'm here. I want that. Like, let's go ahead. Let's gamble a little bit.
Yeah.
Let one rip.
I hope they're looking in the blocking schemes too. Let's get a little bit more advanced with it. We got a guy that can take it to the house. So have some more confidence that he can take some more chances with the blocking schemes as well. You don't need to just run straight back and then run straight forward. There's a bunch of different things you can do back there. Here's the injury report for this game against the Patriots this week. And the Chargers actually have a pretty clean report other than the Austin Ekeler situation that happened at the end of the week this week. Ekeler practiced fully up until Wednesday, but then sat out Thursday with a hip injury, and he also is sitting out today, is what I'm seeing on Twitter. So he's officially listed as questionable to play on Sunday, which is interesting. I will note this. It is weird that a guy came out of practice midway through the week. So the only options are either they're being safe with him and giving him a couple days rest before the big game like they have with other players this year, or he injured it during practice, which would just be so unfortunate for Austin Ekeler if he has sustained an injury during practice. It's going to hold him out for time. That's so painful in the NFL because they shouldn't be getting injured in practice. They shouldn't even be taking too much risk in practice at this point in the middle of a season. And then we have Drew Tranquill, who had a limited practice with the chest injury, but he's expected to play. So full strength other than our IR guys with Bulaga. And who else is on IR? I think it's just Bulaga is the main player on IR right now. Everyone else.
Justin Jones off the injury report?
Justin Jones is not on the injury report.
What?
Yeah, so Justin Jones is a big help to the run D. And then Mike Williams is on here, but that's just to say that Mike Williams has no issues with the knee injury. He's been a full participant in practice all week.
So
he's good to go.
And when I talked to Mike, he asked that you would update his headshot. He's no longer rocking the dreads, so he just said if we could get a quick one, he's a different man.
Yeah, and the dreads are a part of his breakout season too, right? Are you worried about Ekeler? I'm worried about Ekeler.
I'm worried about Ekeler, and I think that if there's even a question, he's not playing in this game because I still think that there's a positive outcome without him, right? Mm-hmm. Like Justin Jackson was back before the break, didn't really get much run, but I think he can be used in the passing game. And then you sort of rely on Josh Kelly. Like I said, I gave him props when he got a few carries. He was looking a little more aggressive, not explosive, obviously, but looking aggressive. I'm trying to say something positive about the kid. And then there's Roundtree, who I love. My thing is like, what if Staley was trying to make the team better at tackling, or saying like, hey, we had a week off, we're going to have one practice where we get, he wouldn't have Ekeler being tackled though, right? Like he wouldn't do that. He'd be like, all right, you guys are going to hit Bradwell. You're going to hit one of these other practice squad guys carrying the ball. Like he would be doing that. Like how does he get a hip injury unless it's like soft tissue, some sort of quad or.
Yeah. I'm assuming if it happened in practice, let's just assume and hope that they didn't go full pads and he got hurt doing something like that during team practice or something. I'm assuming it would be a non-contact. That's what I'm assuming. He just pulled something or tweaked something that was an alien before.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's definitely worrisome. I wouldn't push it because I think the game is manageable and winnable without him. I think you can, and I would like him for the bigger games down the stretch. Like, I think, yeah.
I think we need him. Yeah, we need him, especially if we want any kind of chance in the playoffs against those good teams like Baltimore, which we had a separate conversations about the Baltimore game. We're not going to talk about it too much. Just throw that one away and pretend it didn't happen. But look at the Patriots side of things, though. Kendrick Bourne, Jonnu Smith, Shaq Mason, David Andrews, Godchow, Carl Davis, Wise Jr., who's been a DM that's really contributed for them, Donta Hightower, Bentley, Uche, Kyle Van Noy, Brendan King, Sean Wade, Kyle Duggar. The whole entire team is on their injury report. Almost all these guys have questionable tags, and they all have been limited in practice every day this week. So that's something to keep track on. Which of those players are going to play? Which of those players aren't going to play? That's obviously a healthy list of players and some big names in their offense and defense. And we're talking about Shaq Mason and David Andrews possibly missing this game. That would be huge.
Well, this feels like it's a Belichick thing, right? Like if you watch football long enough, you watch Belichick long enough, you realize that Tom Brady was on the injury report all the time for them. He was never considered missing. So I think he kind of uses it to hide major injuries, right? Like as a guy who might be questionable, it's like, what are we preparing for? Especially on the defense. Are they going to be able to use Kyle Duggar or Hightower or whoever in the game? But they have to have some sort of injury. He can't falsely be reporting 14 injuries a week. Like they have to have some thing going in there. And you hope your team enters the game healthy. And that's doesn't look like the case with the Patriots who did they play last week?
They played the Jets.
Yeah.
They absolutely whopped them.
So it was like, I remember they won big. I just couldn't remember who it was against.
54-14 or something like that.
Yeah, they should have had their JV squad in there by like midway through the third quarter. That was not a football game that they needed to be risking injury in.
Yeah, and we do play a rookie quarterback this week, so that'll be interesting to see Brandon Staley's defensive scheme versus Mac Jones. Mac Jones was talking about the disguises and everything that Brendan has brought to the Chargers offense, but he said that he has no worries.
Okay, I don't know if this is on your list of things to talk about not today, but like, did Hunter Henry do enough for you that if you were in the stadium, would you cheer him when he came out? Or you just are like, whatever, he didn't really do enough?
I'm indifferent about Hunter Henry. I only am a big fan of his because my wife loved him so much, and it's because she follows like his whole family on Instagram and like follows their little family life and storyline. She thinks that they're a cute family, so that's why I liked Hunter Henry so much. Also, of course, what he brought to the field. But I was one of the few Chargers fans that was okay with us not re-signing him because I knew the way the market was, he was going to get max. He got paid top 5 tight end money in the league. Top 5. And he just isn't able to stay healthy enough. And then even when he is out there, I didn't view him as that high. Maybe the top 10, like edge of top 10. But I didn't view him as an elite tight end. He's getting paid the same amount as he's getting paid, I think, $2 less million than Travis Kelce per year right now.
Yeah, that's stupid. That should be illegal. Like if I was in the NFL and I was making laws, I'd be like, nah, this doesn't fly. He does have a touchdown in like 4 straight games. Yeah, he's producing in this offense. And I think that's kind of by necessity. When Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers and stuff, like they're good NFL receivers, they're not great. They're not getting open. And especially they're not going to gel with a rookie quarterback like just that quickly. So,
yeah, Hunter does have the experience of last year gelling with a rookie quarterback. Him and Herbert did well together.
Yeah, I think he's fine. I get what you're saying. Go get a veteran. You can pay a little bit less like Jared Cook and kind of float the position a little bit.
I was saying that Jared Cook's going to have similar production for us that Hunter Henry had last year, and so far it's been like that. Jared Cook has been that security blanket that Herbert can go to on third downs on the goal line when he needs it. But when you look at the overall of the offense, the tight end position for us is like our third option usually.
Yeah, I think him and Parham are going to have to put in some work this weekend
Mhm.
because I think Mike Williams is going to be the apple of Belichick's eye. Like I don't foresee like a huge day from Mike Williams. Like, I don't think they let anything over the top, really underneath or anything like that. It's interesting because nobody ever talks about the stats when the rookie quarterback that Belichick beats in the first game. How do they fare when they come back? Like all of a sudden because those stats are so misleading where it's like, yeah, of course a rookie quarterback's not going to do great against a coach who's really good at game planning for somebody. But how many of those rookie quarterbacks are just garbage to begin with and we never hear from them again? Like, I don't think any of those guys are record setting, you know?
A lot of them. And Herbert will probably be an outlier in that long list of names that Belichick has shut down in his first matchup against them. But this is not the same Chargers team, and this is not the same Patriots team that we saw last year. So it's going to be a much different story, I think. This Patriots team let Davis Mills throw all over them. I just want to point that out. People forget about that. This Patriots team has 3 wins this year, and 2 of the 3 wins are against the New York Jets. The rest of the games, losses.
Yeah, they give the Miami Dolphins their only win, and that was on a Damien Harris
fumble,
basically treat for them right there. I am a little worried about that aspect of it. Whereas like maybe Harris isn't breakaway speed, but he's like 6-7 yards, long sustained drives. Just smash the ball.
They have to have something new to try after 2 weeks off. We also are coming off the bye week also. They have to have something that they can throw out there that is not what they've been throwing out there in run defense. Otherwise, Belichick is going to hand the ball off to Taylor, Stevenson, and Bolden each 15 times.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid to do it if that's what he has to do to win the game.
Oh,
we can see the Browns game again.
Yeah, but like at least with the Browns, those running backs are like capable of like really big plays.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Nick Chubb broke off a few and Hunt broke off a few, and Damien Harris can do that. I just don't see Harris in that same category. He's good. I consider Nick Chubb, when healthy, to be top 3 running back. Like not sort of like all around, but I'm talking like just straight ahead, just like let's smash, like let's go to work. And Damien Harris could approach that top 7, I guess. I don't know. I'd have to really sit down and make a list.
Another big difference between this year and last year, and that I like our chances even a little bit more. That's such a tough trip for a young team like we had last year, especially a young team that was injured with a lot of backups playing, going into New England to try and face the Bill Belichick-led Patriots. And this year, having them come to LA is going to be a big deal. And that worry of the coaching battle and maybe Staley being down when it comes to the coaching battle to Belichick, it helps me out a lot to know that we don't got to put the stress on the players of going all the way to New England and going into that cold environment and playing those guys.
I think the game was here.
Last year? I thought it was in New England.
No, I think it was here. It was it just was a no fans game or whatever. But I'm pretty sure I remember because maybe it was in New England.
I thought I remember.
I thought I read somewhere where they said something about it's rare for a team to go to the same place twice or whatever, but just the way the scheduling was working out to play on the same.
Oh, it was here. That's my bad.
Yeah. Because like I read something where it was like, oh, it was a Patriots fan complaining about, oh, we have to go to LA back-to-back years. Like we have to make that flight all the way out to Los Angeles to play the Chargers twice or whatever. And I was like,
didn't matter last year. Yeah,
it's like you guys came here and rolled. What do you think the difference is? Cam Newton, the guy you didn't want on your team?
Anyways, awful takes aside, let's move on to the X Factors. Tony, you said Keenan Allen. I put up there secondary also, but you wanted me to highlight Keenan Allen. Tell the peeps about Keenan a little.
So I think Keenan has been lost a little bit in the mix, the shuffle, When I look at the offense, I was chalking up the slow start to they didn't play at all in the preseason. But then it continued. Games kept going, right? Like, he hasn't really had a Keenan-style game that we've come to know and love from him, and that's a lot of targets, a lot of catches, but with a lot of yards after catch. Getting him the ball in a place where he can go one-on-one and make the first guy miss, or at least be able to get 6, 7, 8 yards and get to a first down. So I just think that he needs to have one of those games where he's winning his matchup and he's the first option and winning those matchups. Like, every time Justin sees him in a one-on-one, he shouldn't even be looking anywhere else. It should just be like, oh, I know Keenan's going to win this matchup for me. He's getting the ball. And he gets 14 targets this weekend and just abuses who's ever in front of him, especially if they are using a safety over the top of Mike or something like that. And Belichick will pay attention to Jackson out of the backfield, or be better if it was Ekeler, but I get that. And then he'll give respect to a veteran tight end like Jared Cook. He's not going to let Cook just run up the seam and dominate him all day. So I think he might be out there saying, hey, I'm going to put, Jackson over here on Keenan Allen.
Or on Keenan Allen, yeah.
Yeah, and just say, go one-on-one today. And let's see what you got. And we need Keenan to win. We need him to dominate that matchup. He
would. If they actually go out there and put one-on-one with J.C. Jackson, he would dominate that matchup. Keenan Allen, everyone's talking about Keenan Allen like he's still having a great year. I mean, he's still leading the team in receptions, and he's one big game away from leading the team in yards receiving. Both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are on track to have around 90 reception, over 1,000 yard seasons, which is going to be awesome if they do it again. That'll be the second time in their careers that they've done that together. But I think Keenan Allen could have a takeover game here in this one. And he is due for a takeover game, like you're saying. We're used to seeing these once every other week, sometimes back-to-back weeks, 11 reception, 125, 2-touchdown games from Keenan Allen. And we have not seen that yet this year. It's been kind of sprinkled out, 75-yard games. He only has 1 touchdown so far this season, which is a little bit concerning for usual. He's usually a 10 TD a year kind of guy.
Yeah, and I think that's why he's my X factor, is that it's like we need him to make it so that nobody can key in on Mike Williams.
Exactly.
Oh, we game plan for Mike, but this guy's the Tasmanian devil on the other side. So
exactly.
Which one of these do we want to get? Okay, we're focused out here. Now we got Ekeler out of the backfield, or we have Cook down the seam, whatever it is. Like, I need him to be matching the big playability from Mike on the other side. So then that way, even freaking Jalen Guyton becomes more dangerous in that. Mm-hmm. You start running him on maybe like a little wheel route underneath like this, a little slant for Allen, pump fake, over the top. Jalen Guyton, smoke show for a touchdown down the sideline. We need to see some of that stuff, and that happens if Keenan demands the same attention that Mike is going to start demanding post-bye week.
100%. They're going to have their hands full if that starts to happen. I mean, really sit and think about the wide receiver duos in the league right now. I mean, of course, you got your Julio and A.J. Brown in Tennessee. Whatever's going on in Tampa, whatever you want to call the 1 and 2 there, it kind of changes from week to week, but overall they got a solid group there. Dallas, they got a solid group there. Like, the Chargers are in the conversation with like a Dallas when it comes to our receivers right now. We got to use them all. That's the thing that Dallas does well, is you'll see Amari Cooper have weeks where it's just all Amari Cooper, but then it goes back to CeeDee Lamb and then back to Amari Cooper. Oh no, Dalton Schultz is all of a sudden getting the ball. We haven't quite seen that yet this year on full display, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, one of the
plays.
better duos, one of the better receiving duos this year is probably Emmanuel Sanders and Stephon Diggs, or like when you think about it, you're like, wait, Emmanuel Sanders is like 35. What do you No, but he's producing a lot in that offense as the number 2. And imagine a world in which Keenan is your number 2 option, because Mike Williams is so big and strong and fast and whatever, and he really should be when you think about it. Like, Mike Williams is a top 10, 15 pick or whatever he was for a reason. He should be your number 1 option. It's just that Keenan's route running is so great, it would be nice to have 2 number 1 options. Like, it's what the Chiefs have had for a couple seasons now.
Exactly.
They have 2 number 1 options with Kelsey and Hill.
Exactly. I love it. Here's my X factor. It's the coaching matchup because I'm really interested to see. This is the definition of new school versus old school battle here. You got Brandon Staley, a little bit more risky, a little bit more of an analytical guy, defensive specialist, but he's not afraid to help out on offense and be a little risky on offense. And you got Bill Belichick, who's just that old school smash mouth football style of football coach. And we're going to see those two guys collide this weekend, and that matchup and that battle is going to be interesting to see what Brandon Staley throws at Mac Jones on our defense and what Bill Belichick throws at Herbert compared to what he did last year on their defense. I think that's the key matchup between these two teams. The only way the Patriots, I think, can pull away from us and beat us this weekend is if they have a game like they did last year where their special teams and defense just absolutely takes over somehow.
I was trying to think while you were talking.
They're going to need it. They're going to need it to be low scoring. I don't think that our defense is going to give up a bunch of points to Mac Jones and Damien Harris and Nelson Aguilar.
What's weird about this Belichick team is the special teams have been a little sloppy. They're getting kicks blocked all of a sudden. They're getting fumbles, bobbles, these type of things, these little mistakes that we haven't seen from his teams in the past, which is why I think the Chargers have a chance to be very opportunistic, punching that ball, putting a lot of pressure on a really young team. I was trying to think, though, Staley wasn't the D coordinator in the Super Bowl for the Rams, was he? In that Rams-Patriots Super Bowl 3 years ago? It wasn't him, was it?
No, he was their D coordinator for only 2 seasons. Then he came down.
Yeah. So that might have been like Wade Phillips or something.
Yeah.
But he was still on that staff that did well in that Super Bowl. Like, the Rams didn't lose that Super Bowl because of the defense. The Rams lost that Super Bowl, and that's why Matt Stafford is now here, because McVay was incapable of making the kind of adjustments he needed to make, and I think it was because he didn't trust Jared Goff. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to find himself in that position ever again, and that's why he overpaid for Matt Stafford, who's not only a gambler, but then also has top 5 arm ability, of the last 25 years in the NFL. So it'll be interesting. I think people are getting less credit for outsmarting Belichick without Brady. Like, it's funny how that happens, like all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, you beat Belichick. Yeah, without Tom Brady. It's like, it kind of bolsters the Brady argument a little bit.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I like how you used the word bolster when you said Brady argument.
Yeah. It was unintentional, but yes, it does help Brian's argument quite a bit.
But it's tough to play with a rookie quarterback, and I'm sure that does limit whatever Bill Belichick wants to do with Mac Jones down the line. It limits what he's doing right here in this very moment, and that can be an explanation for the Patriots' struggle so far. I still think they're overperforming what I expected this year, and they're overperforming what I expected last year. I was putting 5-6. I was giving them the Raiders treatment last year, and they came out and won 7 games, and they were in the wild card hunt until Cam got COVID at the end of the year there.
No, Cam had it at the beginning of the year, and they were – because remember they went to Seattle, and they lost on like that goal line sneak or whatever it was? Mm-hmm. They could have won that game. Then Cam gets COVID, and the team is like 2-1. Cam comes back. They're now 2-3. He's still like dealing with the aftermath of it. They were talking about his conditioning or whatever. They won some big games, and then just down the stretch, they just didn't have the cohesion or the horses. Cam didn't look great. I had the Patriots winning the AFC East this year. Remember, I was like, "Oh, this team's they're going to get Cam in there. They're going to run the football, and they're going to play defense." And really, the team should be 4-3 without a fumble, but not an impressive 4-3 by any stretch of the imagination. Like, this isn't a team I'm scared of. I think that the Chargers defense has a great opportunity for several takeaways in this game, whether it be fumbles. We've already seen Harris have some ball security issues, and Ramondre Stevens have ball security issues. So you got a rookie quarterback. Maybe they disguise a few things. Maybe a veteran like Chris Harris Jr. decides to jump a route.
Asante Samuel, where have you been? We missed weeks 1 through 3, Asante Samuel.
I think still there, but also like at the same time, other people get to watch him and they get to then capitalize on his rookie tendencies, the kind of things he bites on, the kind of plays he doesn't look so hot at. So,
yeah, and that's why I was a little worried of having the thought of him being our CB1 through the year. That's why I'm glad we got Chris Harris back, and I'm glad Michael Davis is balling. And I don't think anyone's paying attention to what Michael Davis is doing this year. He doesn't have these crazy stats, but it seems like every game I'm shouting Michael Davis's name and beating my chest 5 times a game. He's doing something big.
He's playing really good, and I think his play has allowed Derwin James to be even that much more sort of like crazy middle linebacker, like what people want Jamal Adams to be. You know, it's like that. Derwin James is what people think or want Jamal Adams to be.
All for it, Tony. All right, here's my prediction. Stats-wise, Justin Jones helps the run game out. We hold them to less than triple digits rushing.
What?
97 yards rushing for the Patriots this weekend. All right. On the offensive side of the ball, Justin Herbert, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, calling for it. All passing. And the Chargers are going to win 28-17. Fine.
28-17. First of all, I will be ecstatic if they keep them at less than 100 yards rushing the football. Mike, this game's a blowout. This game's 31-3. If they keep them at a less than 100 yards rushing. Because I don't see a world in which Mac Jones has a ton of success passing against this defense with those 3 cornerbacks and Derwin James floating there. Campbell's played nice. Who's the other safety kid? Gilliam, right?
Gilman.
Gilman,
whatever. Rounder a couple years ago at Hawaii. Yeah.
He's been playing really nice, opportunistic. Like, I don't see him having a ton of success dominating if they only get 97 yards rushing. But I would be over the moon with a 97-yard performent against Damien Harris.
We need Justin Jones.
Yes, who single-handedly had 3 100-yard rushing games. I am going with a slightly closer score, but still in favor of the Bolts, 27-20 here. This is what I was going to say. My bold prediction for the game was that the Patriots didn't have a 100-yard rusher, right? Which still they could spread it out and have rushing yards. But I will go with a game in which the defense has 3+ turnovers in this game. And also, I like this, where I will be able to be back here next Friday talking about at least 3 positive plays in the special teams game. Punt, kick return, or made field goals north of 40 yards. We will be talking about at least 3 positive plays. You realize that before we got Dustin Hopkins, we haven't had a field goal attempt in a month, Mike. Over a month, we haven't lined up for a field goal attempt. So, let's go.
What if like, I'm not gonna say the first drive, because we want a touchdown on the first drive. But what if like there's a drive or let's say the last drive before the half, we're already up 14-0, and we drive it down into field goal range, and he pops a 53-yard field goal to go up 17-0 into half. Like, how ecstatic would you be on that halftime show on the Instagram page?
It's gonna be all Dustin Hopkins love. I'm gonna be trying to figure out how to order my Hopkins Hall of Fame bust. Just to tie it at the beginning of the show.
Your 27 score prediction is asking for 2 field goals in there.
27-20.
Or missed extra point. I hope not. But 2 field goals, right? 21 plus 6. Bam. Book it.
I didn't realize how I got us there.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. All right, 2 field goals from Dustin Hopkins. We're happy for it. Good kick returns. Austin Ekeler's gonna play. Everything's gonna go right for the Chargers this weekend, and nothing's gonna go right for the New England Patriots. I hope not, because Renee will be in these chats if they do beat us. I already feel it just a little bit. Tony, any last words for the peeps before we end this thing? 35 minutes. I think we did good today on time.
Andre Roberts. You will all be familiar with Mr. Andre Roberts.
It's Roberts' time to shine. Thanks for tuning in this week, guys. I hope that the Chargers win, and I know the Chargers are going to win. And we're going to be here next Friday once again. So we'll see you guys then. If you guys want to come to any of these live streams, we're live for every single primetime game. We were live last night for that debacle and everything that was going down with AJ Green and Kyler Murray in the end zone. And we're going to be live for Sunday Night Football between Cooper Rush and Kirk Cousins and Monday Night Football. Yeah, the NFL's – I know they're not planning all these injuries, but the way it's working out, we've had like 3 top 10 quarterbacks playing primetime all year, all of the primetime games combined. It's insane. It's actually insane. And
yeah, and then we lose Devontae Adams in the one game where
Exactly.
it's like we finally got a juicy matchup, and he's throwing to guys named Winfrey. Okay.
Yeah, and D-Hop basically plays one play. I mean, he was a decoy when he was out there. So, I mean,
Yes.
so there
Yeah,
you go.
and AJ Green gets a senior moment out there. Bolt up, doesn't
We are live for all those primetime games, so be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, like this video, bolt up, and we'll see you next week.
San Diego Chargers are fortunate to have Lance Allworth.
Don Coryell.